and this fella shot him. And then he set it up to make it look like a suicide. And this series, I think, was from 1949 to 1954. Had the grill configuration. But this was my dad's truck. And he had this up in the hills, up by Grimes Pass. If you know anything about Boise County, Grimes Pass is about 22 miles outside of Idaho City. And then Garden Valley's down the other side. But this truck lived up there, and he had a bunch of gold mining claims. So he used this for doing his pan and gold and his claims, and then during the summer between that, he had a big stock rack on the back, and he would go get firewood all over the Forest Service area to stock himself up for the winter. Anyway, so I inherited this when he died, and of course the engine that was in it wasn't original. It was a straight 6 from the 60s. It wasn't the Thriftmaster that was originally in it. And the engine mounts that he had in this truck were actually angle iron bed frames. So when I inherited it, I'm like, well, I want to drive this thing around. And the master cylinder for the brake was 1 cylinder. So that meant if I lost anything, any pressure anywhere, I'd lose all the brakes. Which was fine because it had a granny tranny that could essentially go less than 0. So you really didn't need the brakes, but I wanted to drive it on the road. So I got this thing out of the mountains and put a Camaro engine in it, a little 350 small block, NV 4500 5-speed, and a Ford rear end. And it'll go faster than you want it to, but it's a good thing we put new brakes on it. Anyway, it's an old rig. It's kind of beat up. I've had people ask me or suggest to me that I should finish it up and polish it up and make it look cherry. That's not what I want. I want it to show all of its scars and marks of life and where it's been, right? This is a work truck. I'll go to car shows occasionally, and there's some guys that, man, they do some beautiful work on cars. I mean, they are pristine, and I give them a lot of credit. But at those car shows, most people can't touch those cars, right? And rightfully so. People put a lot of time and effort into it. But I feel good when I pull into a car show and I open the doors and I let the kids climb all over this thing. Get in there, work the stick shift, spin that steering wheel, you know. It means something to me to be engaged in life in it. Not to just imagine it, not to just look at it from a distance, but to be engaged in it. And if you're going to be engaged in it, you're going to get some lumps, you're going to take some lumps. If you have the courage to stand up and do something that maybe other people don't do, you're going to take some shots. And a lot of them aren't going to be fair shots. Life ain't fair.
Something lost, a choice now stands before us all. To raise the standard, answer the call. Jimmy Roberts knows the weight of every case that comes too late. A family's waiting, needing more than what they've ever had before. Not empty words, not guess or chance, but skill and care in every glance, with training, focused, proven way to serve this county day by
I was in the foster system, got adopted, back into the foster system. And then in my 20s, I found my biological family. And meeting my dad, he was a young guy when I was born, super young. And he always knew I was out there. And he went on, this was in the 1960s, he went on and joined the Marine Corps in 1968. He's what we would call a Hollywood Marine, because he was on the West Coast. I worked with Marines that primarily had gone through Parris Island on the East Coast. At any rate, when I met him, it was a mix of emotion, right? All these imaginations of me as a kid when I learned that I was adopted. Like, what did that mean? What had happened? Why was I here? What was going on? And having that all kind of come together, that my life was part of kind of a bigger family and a bigger plan, really opened a lot of things up for me. But I got 13 good years with my dad, and they weren't always perfect. You know, father-son relationships. I've got one son and a stepson, not always perfect. You have a vision on what you think it should be, and you know, life is what it is. In 2004, my dad lived outside of Idaho City up there in Grimes Pass. Remote area, no electricity, no running water. They used the creek to get their water from, and had an outhouse, beautiful outhouse that my dad had built. At any rate, he had a disagreement with a fella up there, and this fella shot him. And then he set it up to make it look like a suicide. Waited almost 24 hours to make the call. He didn't call 911. He called a private individual that worked as a first responder. And that first responder went up there, immediately knew something was wrong by the way the scene was set up. And the coroner that responded to that case was pretty new in the job, and there were no requirements that this person had to do anything or had to have any certifications to be a coroner. They were initially going to call this a suicide. And without that individual, that first responder that was there, that knew that it wasn't mechanically possible for it to be a suicide, that case would have been over right there. So if a coroner decides, okay, this is a suicide, there's no reason to collect evidence, there's no crime that's been committed or no crime that's going to be adjudicated, and that case would have been lost completely. Luckily, because of his protest, Idaho State Police became involved in the case, and through that investigation, there were a number of systemic things that didn't work well. It took 4 years to get a conviction, and it was a conviction under what's called an Alford plea, which means the person admits that there is enough evidence to convict them of the crime, but they're not admitting to have done the crime. Yeah, only an attorney could have thought of that, right? But anyway, that's when I discovered what the coroner system was like. Not like Quincy, like what I thought a coroner system was like when I was a kid. And I made a decision at that point that there was no way that I was going to be able to rest until we turned that system around and got every family the respect, dignity, and the answers they deserve. Because my dad lived up in the mountains, and he was kind of a recluse, right? He didn't want to be down in society, man. And he would go from extreme to extreme. It's either up in the mountains, totally away from everybody, or it was down in Las Vegas, having a great time. But when we were trying to get this case moving, there was some difficulty in getting attention to it because he was kind of looked at as an indigent individual out there in the middle of nowhere, and that really broke my heart because my dad was a Marine. Not only was he my dad, he was a son, he was a brother, you know, an uncle. He was a United States Marine.
Not just a name we choose, it shapes the path we win or lose. And when it counts, when stakes are real, we need someone with strength and skill for clearer answers, stronger ground, for trust that's built and truly sound, for work that's done the way it should be, for truth that serves our community.
I mean, we have a great program with interns from Idaho State University. We have the University of Idaho. We have an intern from University of Idaho that's going to work with us this summer. And I just got a call from a fella who's the son of a guy I worked with in New York City with FDNY, who's in forensics program, and he wants to come to Idaho to do an internship in his forensics work. So you never know, if you commit yourself to do good work in whatever field you're in, you never know where those ripples will lead in that pond, who it's going to touch, and how it's going to change the world. So anyway, it's getting deep.
So when the time comes, take your stand with future resting in your hand. Choose the course that lifts us higher. Choose the one who won't tire. Jimmy Roberts, steady, true, ready to do the work for you.
So I would consider our community a small town, right? Even though it's 2,100, just under 2,100 square miles, it still feels like a small town. So the budget's not going to be like you would find in a metropolitan area, and that's fine because we have partnerships with higher learning institutions. We're able to do things that can only be done in systems that have big budgets, but we're able to do it because people are committed and want to do it. One of the biggest things to overcome in a small community is that people watch things on TV and they think, hey, these things only happen in the city. They only happen in a metropolitan area or in another country. It's not the case. People die everywhere, and they die of all kinds of different things in every location. And to think that you can, I don't know, kind of do it halfway just because we're a small town, you're doing a disservice. You're doing a disservice to people you don't even know, right? Because we don't know. I mean, I don't know if I have a loved one that's going to die tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to get hit by a bus tomorrow. You know, I don't know who that person is going to be, but I do know that they deserve just as much as anybody else in a system that follows standards, that works with purpose, and that tries to identify the hazards in our community to make it a safer place to live.